Okay, I think we can get started. Before I start with the presentation, I want to say anyone who has questions, you can put it in the Q&A box instead of putting it in the chat box. So we have panelists here who will be able to answer your questions in the Q&A instead of putting it in the chat box. Okay, so again, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining for this session today. I'm Jennifer Berkmans, and I work as the program manager with the US placements team currently. I'm a qualified CPA. I've also completed my master's in accounting in the US and worked there before I moved back to India. I worked with the Big Four and then moved to Miles. So that's just a brief introduction about me before I move in with get started with my presentation. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about how it's been made possible for Indian accountants to now work in the US. Okay, and the reason this is being made possible is because there is a huge shortage of accountants in the US. Why is there a huge shortage of accountants? There are two things that majorly contributed to it. Number one is nobody finds accounting cool or nobody finds it fun anymore, right? The entire world has been moving towards AI and digital, that nobody wants to look at accounting and say, that's something I want to pursue. Given this, universities have been seeing a drop in enrollments for their Masters in Accounting program. And because of a drop in enrollment for the Masters in Accounting, there are not many skilled or advanced knowledge accountants. So the public accounting firms are not finding the right talent for their job openings within their firm, right? So these are the factors that contribute towards the shortage of accountants. And it talks about the Washington Post, Fortune, Wall Street Journal. There are multiple articles that you can find that talks about the shortage of accountants. And this is not just that started very recently. It has been happening over a few years. And of late, it's gotten more grave, right? Before I move on to the next slide, I'll quickly show you a video that will talk about the shortage of accountants there in the US.
The global economy is in crisis. There is a huge shortage of accountants, and America wants you.
There are 17% fewer accountants employed.
300,000 accountants and auditors leave the profession. So let me get this straight. We're currently short on
Miles has cracked the puzzle for Indian accountants to work in the US. Be the flag bearer of Indian accounting talent as you live the great American dream.
So this has been going on for a while, like I said. So if you look at the statistics that has been released by the Bureau of Labor, every year there's about 126,000 and more job openings for accountants, but there's only about 73,000 accountants who graduate every year. So this difference of 53,000 is what we are trying to fill, right? So this number, we expect it to get bigger as the years pass, but every year there's more than 126,000 jobs that are available to accountants. How did Miles crack the puzzle for Indian accountants to work in the US, right? We spoke about the why is there a shortage in of accountants in the US. Let's think about how is it possible for Indian accountants to work in the US. Now, techies for a very long time, for decades now, have been being able to finish their bachelor's here and then move to the US to pursue their master's. And the reason they do this is because after they finish their graduation or their master's in the US, they have the ability to work for 3 years post their graduation. When you were to look at an accountant few years back, an accountant can go to the US to pursue their master's in accounting, but they get a 1-year work permit post graduation as opposed to 3 years, which a techie gets. Why is there a difference between an accountant and a techie? The word STEM comes into play, right? So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Any course that is STEM designated gets the ability, or the students who pursue a STEM designated course have the opportunity to work for 3 years post graduation in the US. When you look at a master's in accounting curriculum, None of the subjects that were there in the curriculum have anything related to science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, right? So when it's a non-STEM degree, you only get 1 year post graduation. So how is it that we can make a master's in accounting into a STEM course? So we integrated business analytics into the master's in accounting curriculum, right? So you will start studying on basics of Python, a little bit of R, Tableau, Alteryx, Power BI. All of these courses are integrated into the master's in accounting program, which makes MS in accounting right now a STEM designated course. The technology part of it is taken care by integrating business analytics into the master's in accounting curriculum. And what does this do? Because it is now STEM designated, every student who pursues the master's in accounting from the US will now have a 3 year work permit post their graduation. Okay, so this is how it is being made possible for Indian accountants to work in the US. Now, there are three parties involved when it look at the Miles US pathway. Number one, Indian accountants, all of you who are present here, we have a lot of Indian accountants who have been wanting to have that global exposure, wanting to work in the US on ground and having that client relationship. So number one is Indian accountants. Number two is universities. The way to get to the US, you first have to pursue your master's in accounting. And once you graduate, the public accounting firms come into play. So then you get a job with public accounting firms, either in audit, taxation, or accounting. And then you start working with them, right? So the three parties that get involved are Indian accountants, universities, and public accounting firms. I'm going to quickly take a pause here because one of our alumni, Yusuf, has been able to join us this evening. So Yusuf will quickly talk about his story. He's going to be graduating very soon. So he'll be able to talk a little bit about how his journey has been from India to the US. Yusuf, thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you can take it forward and tell us about your journey so far.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Jennifer, for having me. And so I would directly jump to whatever happened with me in last 1.5 year, you can say. So I started my journey at this time. Uh, during like 15 days back, if you will be precise, I started my journey at 15th April 2023 something. I talked with Gopal. He was one of like mine's employee, and then he briefed me about what's the process is gonna be. So I started applying with all the colleges. I applied in three colleges, and Miles helped me with the application form which was there. So I applied at DePaul, and then there was Nova Southwestern University, which was from Florida. I got the offer letter from both of them, and it was literally a cakewalk for a person to get a offer letter. Like I don't have to give any exams before that, and then you just get the offer letter from college. So I got a offer letter from DePaul and then Nova. So I chose DePaul because it had some different uh, course name, which is like Masters in Auditor Advisory from Nova. So I chose that, and then I went with that DePaul. So first of all, it was like I went with all of the different consultancies as well and asked them, can they send me to US in August? They just replied it's impossible. And I was like, bro, there is this Miles education. They are promising me that I can go to US in this fall. How can you say that? Like, so I still have his number, and then when I came to US, I texted him, bro, I'm in US, and it's fall, and they really did it without IELTS. So they were like, how did you went? So well, I did went. I trusted Miles, and then I just trusted them. So it was a easy process for me. I never knew the process actually before Miles. Like I never imagined coming to US before. Like I'm the first person who came to US from my whole generation of my family. If you like see what whoever is there, nobody just came to US. So I was the first one to came to US. That was a big achievement for me. After that, coming to US, yeah, it was good. And then everybody started talking about jobs and things. And then my life started pacing a lot. Like it started working on the fifth gear of my like it started working on the fifth gear, and I was like, everybody is searching for job and things. And then they say like it's gonna be difficult after 3 quarters. You have to work. It's 60 days period after 3 quarters. You have to be there. And then I also got scared with all these talks going on around me. So what I thought, like I got scared in just 10-15 days. So when I got in contact with Miles again after coming here, they just said there is this RSM company. I was knowing about RSM before coming to US, because people already I think so people already got some interview calls before coming to US also. So I joined a webinar before coming to US with Miles. Somebody had an offer. I don't know who was him, but somebody had an offer and he was talking about the package thing. I was like, bro, already have an offer. You didn't even came to US and I'm going in US. You already have an offer. Accept it. So yeah, if you'll talk about that accountant shortage, it's literally real. Because if you'll talk about other degrees like computer science and then other engineering degrees, it's there is a lot of competition in that if you'll go with that. But if you'll see to the accountant degree in our class, there are 35 to 40 students, and all of them are working with some other company. Even it is a small accounting firm or a big accounting firm, they are placed and they are like people are happy to offer job to accountants here who knows the knowledge of like how to do it. And if you are pursuing CPA with uh, whatever like if you are pursuing CPA with miles or without miles, you are gonna get what you want. I will definitely say like go with miles because they are sending us books over you in US also. I just collected books before like 3 4 days, so I still have my books in bags. I haven't kept them. So they are sending us book in US also. So I don't think so. No other company will do that at all. Like from miles. So I just got an offer letter. I still remember the date. It was Monday, 2:30. I was sleeping at that time because December was not going good with me. So December and November was not going good with me. So it was 20th November. I got an offer letter from RSM, and I prayed. I literally prayed for RSM. Please, 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 please. My interview went well because I had 3 4 mock interviews back before getting RSM interview with Akhila and then with other people as well. So it was a good experience to get an interview before getting any interview from a company. So I got interviewed with Akhila. It was great. She gave me feedback like you uh, you go like you go at a pace and then you get dropped at some point. So I worked on it like before the RSM interview, and then I tracked the interview after getting the offer letter. It was like, bro, I'm on the seventh floor of the like of any like seventh sky, as you say, na, so I am on the seventh sky. So it was really a happy. And when I told this to my parents, they were like, wow. Wow, it was next to impossible, and then I was not having that fear of staying 60 days after my graduation. I was always having that fear like you have to get an offer letter after graduation in 60 days. So it was a scary thing. If you don't get an offer letter, you go. So and I don't think so. People like you, Miles is taking your resume to the company, and then you have to just be with them. Just apply for the company and just be stick with the person who is a point of contact for you with Miles. I think so. If you'll contact Jennifer or anytime, she'll reply. I have seen her seeing reply at 3 a.m. Also, like she's there for you. I definitely know. And even Akhila, if you'll message her in LinkedIn, even if she is busy after some time, just wait for some time and then she'll just reply with like politely, like this is the thing in the yeah. So that's a good thing. So I don't need their help as of now, and but I know if in future if I need their help, if I'll just ping them that I'm here and then just whatever it is going on, I'll just ping them so they'll just reply and then just say that like this is the way. So I'll be starting with RSM in coming future, and then I'm graduating in June. I never planned to graduate in June because I have that fear. But after getting the offer letter, I was like, just finish the course and graduate and then start earning. So that was my journey. Currently, I'm working on with my subjects, and I did have plan to clear my CPA in the coming near future. So yeah. That's all about myself. I've talked a lot. It's more than enough, I guess.
No, thank you so much, Yusuf. That was very, very helpful for everyone to understand how the journey has been for you. And yeah, congratulations again to be graduating very soon and to start working this summer. And thanks for joining more specifically this morning from Chicago. So thanks again, Yusuf.
It's a pleasure to be here. That's
Thanks.
always I'll always be there. You know that.
Thanks, Yusuf.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll quickly move on to the next slide. I'm gonna call on Chandu very quickly after I finish up with just the number of universities and who we are tied up with. To talk about the universities that we're currently tied up with, this is what you see on the screen right now. We have all of these universities that we've partnered with. We had about 400 students who have been there for the 23-24, and for fall 2024, we're expecting more than 1,000 students to be landing in the US to pursue their masters. We often get a concern from students saying that, starting a course here, we're doing CPA, we're doing a different course of JAXM, multiple things coming into play. But one thing to understand is MS accounting is tailored, or it's made in such a way that it overlaps with the CPA curriculum. Okay, so it's not completely different, but the subjects you learn when you're MS in accounting is part of what is available in your CPA course as well. Okay, the Miles US pathway is different or is unique because we've split the entire course into two parts, right? So one is going to be your 30% of your coursework, which is going to be with JAXM. It's 9 credits. So the entire MS accounting program is for 30 credits. 9 credits of that will be done in India with JAXM. This leads to a flat reduction of fees by 30%, right? Because whatever you pay for JAXM will be in INR and not USD, so you get that advantage. And also, apart from this, we also have additional scholarships up to 40% for Miles candidates. The reason we're able to achieve this is because we send students in batches of 30 and 60, right? 30 to 60. It's not one or two students going to each universities, but it's more of like a whole group of 30 to 60 range. So because of that, we're able to achieve and get scholarships for our candidates. And I think I saw a question in Q&A regarding the TOEFL and IELTS exams. So here we talk about how Miles candidates get waiver of GRE and GMAT, as well as IELTS and TOEFL, right? So this also leads to savings in time as well as money. It's almost impossible for you to get an admission into a university or a business school in the US without having a GRE GMAT. But because we've tied up with these universities, and mainly because you start your course here with JAXOM, which is an AACSB accredited university, you're able to get these waivers, right? To talk about the timeline, we've started the process. It's already in progress in terms of getting your university offer letters, right? So all your applications are through. Universities have started giving in acceptances to candidates. By the time June comes in, you would have received your university offer letter, and you should have also shown your ability financially to be able to sustain in the US for your cost of living as well as your tuition fee. Okay, so once you do this, you receive a document called the I-20, with which you will start your visa process. Now, typically, this process starts around June, July for the August intake, which is the fall intake, right? So you would have started the whole progress. In June, you go for your US visa. By August 2024, end of August, beginning of September is when classes start in the US. So that's when you will be traveling to the US and you will get started with your master's in accounting for the remaining 21 credits. Between April and August is when you're pursuing the 9 credits with JAXOM, which is completely online. Okay, so the 9 credits that you pursue with JAXOM will be done between April and August, and these 9 credits will get transferred to your university before you get started with your course in the US. Okay, and in May of 2025, you will be eligible to graduate and start on your OPT. OPT stands for optional practical training. Even though it says optional and training, it's a full-time job opportunity post your graduation. Okay, so you're still on an F1 student visa. Along with your OPT, you are eligible to work in the US for 3 years. Okay, so this is on the timeline. Before I move on to the cost, I'm going to call in Chandu to talk a little bit more on the corporate side and how exactly we've been building our relationship there. Thanks, Chandu, for being here, and I'm passing it over to you. You are on mute, I think.
Thank you. Sorry, yeah. So hope I'm audible now.
Yes.
Good morning, good evening, everyone, one and all present in this webinar. My name is Chandu, and I've been with Miles Talent Hub the last 3 years. We've been working rigorously to ensure that we build from ground up the network of public accounting firms for you all, so that when you land here, you are all ending up with wonderful interview opportunities in the US. So let me quickly get started with a few things that we are doing, before which I think Jenny has already set the context, but there is, at the cost of repetition, I would like to say we are ears on the ground, feet on ground here. And from what we see, what we hear, there is abundance of jobs, but huge scarcity of accountants. So by which what we mean is we are talking about close to 65,000 candidates can easily get their job openings possible here. It's possible here. Having said that, the right candidates with either academic credentials or experience, these are all required that you should be carrying. Now, coming to how Miles is, trying to break this is our messaging itself in the market is now in the last 10, 12 years in the US, if you look at it, because of this massive shortage of accountants, they have been as a model moving towards offshoring, towards a model which is outsourcing, which India and Philippines are the two markets where offshoring and outsourcing has been booming for the accounting fields per se, accounting, audit, and tax. Now, we are 2 years old in the US already, and we have been able to place hundreds of our candidates. And by calling our model an alternative strategy to outsourcing, an alternative strategy to offshoring. And how do we do that? Now, when in offshoring and outsourcing, as you may understand, US firms are moving jobs away from US to India and Philippines, whereas we are here providing talent like you all present in this webinar, bringing you all into the US, getting you upskilled for the US requirements, and then finding jobs for you and getting those wonderful interview opportunities for you to be able to shine well and get into those firms. Now, this is something that when we talk about, the US market is not able to believe that we are able to bring in hundreds of candidates, thousands of candidates into the US. But that is where Miles has been a game changer in this solution and in tackling this accounting shortage. Now, as I'm speaking, I would like you to make some notes, please. You would want to understand, you would want to make some research at your time, at your convenience. So, we are conducting a lot of activities. We have collaborated with through many channels, that we are able to get you all those interview opportunities. Now, point number one, before I get into showing our activities on some of our LinkedIn profiles, I would like you to also understand, as I speak along, make notes, alliances. Now, there are top accounting alliances in the US, across the US. If you browse accounting alliances in the US, you will find multiple alliances such as BDO Alliance, RSM Alliance, Moore North America, GGI, Prime Global, Allineal Global. These are all various alliances. For you to understand, alliances can loosely be put as clubs, right? So, what do these alliances do? They bring in and converge hundreds of top accounting firms, mid-tier accounting firms in the US, bring them under one roof. And who are all coming together from these accounting firms? The managing partners and the partners of these accounting firms come together for their networking sessions, for their CPE sessions, which is nothing but continuous professional education. So, for those sessions, in their own interest, they come in. And believe me when I'm telling you, when we talk about our solution in front of these key decision makers of firms, telling them that, we have hundreds of candidates from India and would they like to try the solution, invariably 70 to 80% of the firms want to go ahead with us and want to give you all that interview opportunity. Now, I hope you've made note of the alliances, the few of the alliances that I mentioned. But there are 30 such alliances and about 10 to 12 of them really prominent. So we are called strategic partners and for this staffing solution, and we are given a preference over offshoring and outsourcing vendors. We go on stage and we talk about it. I'll show you a few snapshots, few pictures, few activities that we've done. Now, number two is every state across, as you would know, across 50 different states in the US. Every state has state CPA societies. So, what do these state CPA societies do? They are basically not for profit organizations, voluntary bodies that help again the member firms, that is members, CPA members, who are key decision makers in their respective firms in those regions, come together, and they come together to try and understand what are all the various problems and what are the various solutions available. And staffing, believe me when I'm saying this, is the largest problem. So while I'm on this point, I will slightly digress. I want you to also make note of accounting today, right? What is accounting today? Accounting today is a publication journal. It's an accounting focused publication journal where they will talk about various, issues that the accounting firms face. Not only issues, there are also a lot of upgrades, developments that keep happening in the market, macro, micro, all of that is focused in that magazine. And in every edition of that magazine, if you Google accounting today's few of the last few editions, monthly editions, they are available online for you all to see. You will see this phrase called staffing, staffing, staffing. This is one of the common phrases they use. There is also one more phrase which is called pipeline issues. There is also one of the other challenges they talk about, which is capacity challenges. When they say capacity, it is nothing else other than staffing. So they do not have the pipeline of accountants in the US for them to work in the US firms or in the US corporations to meet the demands of the accounting needs of the corporations that need the auditors or tax professionals or accountants like you all. Now, I'll come back to the point on state CPA societies, which I was covering. So, for example, if there is a state CPA society called Virginia State CPA Society, or there is a state CPA society called Florida Institute of CPA Societies, if you go into their portal, one, of course, you will find Miles Talent Hub being called as their strategic partner for our solution, where we bring in you all and we are able to solve their accountant shortage. More importantly, they allow us into the boards of these state CPA societies, the board of directors meetings, where we are given about a whole day of networking opportunity to be able to talk to each of those partners who are, part of the boards of these societies. Now, what happens here is through this, we have been able to, get a lot of job opportunities for our candidates who have recently moved into the US, both our August 23 batch as well as January 24 batch. Now, multiple firms, right? Don't only look at the top four. There is a huge world of accounting firms even beneath the top four, which are not beneath in terms of quality or status for you. There, in fact, you will get to do a lot more work, not only vertically, but the work concentration will happen horizontally. So you will get your exposure in tax and accounting, tax and audit and tax. So multiple combinations of work experience you will be able to enjoy in these mid-sized firms than the big four. And why am I saying do not look at only big four? Primarily because big fours today are not going to be jumping out of joy looking at this solution. Why? Because last 10 years, they have been smart enough and they have the money muscle to be able to leverage their brand power. And they have already set up huge infrastructure in both India and in Philippines with their offshoring centers. So when we are saying that we'll provide you with 20, Indian candidates, it's not that they have a lack of resumes on their human resources department stable that they're going to immediately come to you. But if you look at anything below the top four, brightest chances that you will all be able to find jobs. And it's below the top fours where you will also get a lot of these client facing opportunities than at the big four, because at the big four, there are going to be layers that get created between you and the client. There will be a person who is probably the manager who will not allow you to go into the firm, into the client and have a client level interaction, which is what you want, right? When you come all the way after investing your time, upskilled in the US and everything, and then you don't want a situation where you're not put in front of the clients. If you're going to still continue doing whatever you do at Mehta Associates or Shanmugam Associates that you may do in Bombay or in Bangalore, what is the point? You want to come to the US, have that client exposure to be able to really call yourself a well-rounded professional. This is not a possibility in the big four, but from the fifth ranking firm that is in the IPA, you will have that experience. Now, coming back to the various other strategies that we follow to get you all jobs is, if you look at, if you remember accounting today, in that publication, they release something called top 100 thought leaders. So today, Miles Talent Hub, in the last 1.5 years that we've been very active in the US in the field on the ground, we have been able to start building these beautiful relationships with these thought leaders who work like influencers for us. And they are carrying our solution to the market. And these are all thought leaders who are in some sort of a way, may not be a CPA firm, but they are, advising the CPA firms on the various things that's happening in the market, on the various developments that's taking place in the market, on the various issues that the market is facing. All of this is being carried as a message along with our solution, which tackles the accountant shortage. And who carries this? These accounting today's top 100 thought leaders, out of which about 20 to 30% may not be relevant for us, but the remaining guys are already carrying our message into the market. So this is something that's becoming really big. And we are the only company that does what we are doing in terms of bringing candidates like you all from from India to the US to find you all jobs. So we are going to be quickly, I'm going to be sharing a screen with you all. Let me know if you're able to see my LinkedIn page. So, quick thing, while I'm showing you my page just for a sample of activities, I want you to please follow Miles Talent Hub. This is our latest brand name that we have transitioned to in the US. So, all of you, please follow Miles Talent Hub. In India, we are Miles Education. In the US, we are Miles Talent Hub because here we are not into CPA review right now, right? So here we are a staffing provider, staffing solution company, where we carry your profiles, your resumes, we bring them to the firms and expose you to the firm leaders, which means we are a staffing company and therefore the Miles Education brand name does not make sense in this market. Hence, we have rechristened ourselves to be calling us Miles Talent Hub. So please follow this page. It's a new page. You will find a lot of activities that we do from the team here. I have about 10 members working in this team today in the US, across the US geography, from east to midwest to the west coast. Now, all these people are with this mission to help ensure that you all get your jobs. Now, if you look at my page, you will see this is the latest podcast that Varun Jain has, recently filmed, and it's released yesterday. So you must listen to this. You must watch this. They will talk at large about how accountant shortage challenges, becoming a big problem for the US accounting firms, and they will also tell you and explain how they love Miles Solution. And that is not the just one topic of conversation. They will be talking about a lot of issues such as their journeys as accounting leaders. They will be talking about the landscape of US accounting world in the last 10 years now, and how they foresee the next 10 years to be in terms of US accounting landscape. All of this is going to be extremely useful for you all, every one of you here, because eventually when you decide to take this path, you want to come into the US and you need to talk their language. You need to understand what the situation here is, macros, micros, and how will you do that? One, of course, by reading and doing your research, but by directly listening to these podcasts, you will be able to understand what the market is really requiring, and you can align yourselves to these requirements. So this gentleman that you see here is interviewed by Varun Jain, and he is none other than Michael Horwitz. You will see this in the title, Michael Horwitz. He is the executive director of BDO Alliance. Now, BDO Alliance has about 270 firms, and these people are helping us connect with all of those 270 firms, and we will be eventually, helping you all find placements in these firms. Now, look at this. This is one of the recent posts which I reposted. You will find this in my profile as well as Miles Education and Miles Talent Hubs page. So, this is a latest banner we've made. So, we are the team here. I mean, this has about 8 people, but we are 2 or 3 more in the US. So, we are all getting into this conference starting tomorrow, which is what my mind is right now at. So, between tomorrow and until the 8th of May, we are all going to be talking about you all, saying that, how brilliant, wonderful you talented people are, and to get into those firms to find you jobs. So this is nothing but a conference called Evolve 2024, where we are considered as one of the strategic partners, and we go present about you and find you those wonderful interview opportunities. Quickly coming to activities, this is Michigan Institute of CPAs, which is nothing but Michigan State CPA Society, and their CEO and president and CEO Bob Doyle has been interviewed by Varun Jain. So these are all thought leaders. You will find Bob Doyle's names. Rebecca, she is MACPA, that is Maryland CPA Society's president and CEO. You will find all these names as part of the top 100 accounting thought leaders in that publication that I just mentioned, Accounting Today. They are all the people that are evangelizing the solution for us and trying to help you find jobs. So this is one of the recent collaborations we've done with one of the top-notch firms called Hogan Taylor. If you get into accounting today, or there is a listing called Insider Public Accounting, so that is IPA. This list basically gives you the list of about 500 accounting firms in the US. So you will find Hogan Taylor in one of the top lists featured, and this is one firm that has recently hired a few candidates from Miles talent pool in the US. And this brand name, do not have to emphasize this anymore. Grant Thornton, GT, which is very popular in India as well. So we have recently gotten into final level discussions with GT as well. So we are hoping that we should be able to get you some wonderful opportunities with GT. This is one of the other firms. Again, I think in the top 200 list, this is one firm that is in the fastest growing list of Accounting Today as well as IPA. This gentleman's name is Michael McCarthy. He has been interviewed in our podcast, and he will again talk about what his journey was and how we are trying to solve this problem with our own unique way from Miles. And they have hired a lot of candidates from our pool. This is one of the consulting companies where we had got the opportunity to go in and present about the solution. And who are we presenting to? So if you look at my post, the description of the post, you will understand all these people that are sitting and listening to our pitch here, our presentation here. They are nothing but HR leaders of top firms in the US. So they congregate from across the US into one place, which is Kansas City, which is right now where I am talking to you all from. So there was another meeting of Boomer Talent Circle, which is the company. Now, this company has close to 150 to 180 firms, accounting firms, under their network. So all these HR leaders, the CHROs, that is Chief Human Resource Officers, they are mightily impressed with what Miles Education is doing for tackling the accountant shortage for them. So if you look at it from their end, they are very grateful that we are able to bring in talent and place talent like you all for their firms, because for them it's a day in day out nightmare that they've not been able to find the right talent for their firms. So from your end, of course, you want to live the great American dream, and we are trying to satisfy that. Now this is one more firm, which is William Keepers. So this is their managing partner, and she's the audit partner as well as the human resource director, Amanda. So they're all hiring from us. They have already hired a few and increasing the hiring now from our pool. Now, this is one of the state CPA societies called TX CPA Society. So you may know TX stands for Texas. Texas CPA Society loves what we are doing. They are giving us a lot of opportunity to go on stage and talk about our products. So this is me presenting to them. And if you look at, this is the Miles brand name, and we are a strategic partner with all these state CPA societies, and this is their president, this is their chair. So I can keep going on, but long story short, there is everything that we can do that we are doing here for you all. If you go through my posts, if you go through Miles Talent Hub's posts, you will see a lot of activities that we do in terms of what we need to do for getting you all the wonderful opportunities to land in jobs in the US right after your graduation. Having said that, please also make sure you're following Varun Jain's page. He is, for those of very few of you who may not know, he's our founding CEO. So he's the man who stitched the solution together, trying to solve the problem by bringing you all and getting you all this wonderful, one, upskilling opportunity, and number two, jobs in the US. So please follow his page. You will find a lot of updates, especially in the coming next 2-3 months. We are, very, very tightly packed. We will be feet on ground all the time, going from one conference to another, talking about you all. So with this, I would like to hand this back to Jennifer. Over to you, Jennifer. All the very best to you all. Thank you for listening to whatever I had to share with you all patiently. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you so much, Chandu. So I'm going to quickly go back to the presentation. And before we wrap up and I take up a few of the questions that I saw on the Q&A chat box, I want to talk a little bit about the costs that gets involved. The first step, that is enrolling with Miles, I think most of you here have already started with that. So the payment for that is $20,000, which is $250 US. Now, this does not get covered under a loan. It's a self-paid amount. Moving on to the 9 credits that you pursue with Jackson, which is $9,900. This amount is covered by the education loan that you will be taking. Okay, and then you move on to getting the I-20 from the university and applying for your US F1 visa, which is around $2,000. Now, this again is self-paid. I saw a question on the Q&A, and I want to address that this is self-paid. Okay, so this and you enrolling for Miles US Pathway, these two amounts will be out of your own pockets. CPA program, which is $2,300. This is again covered in the education loan. Moving to the last 2 steps, number 1, pursuing 21 credits, which is around $15,000 to $30,000. There is a range for this because they can differ from university to university. This is covered in your education loan. And the final step of your accommodation in the US, we are conservative because we think that, we're going with the assumption that you will not be taking an entire house to yourself. You will be taking it up on a sharing basis, which is again covered in your loan. So overall, if you were to look at it, right, around 45,000 is your entire investment. $2,000, 2,250, including your enrollment of the 2,000 rupees for enrolling with the Miles US pathway. That is your initial investment from your own pockets. The 43,000, the breakup that I showed you, all of that can be covered under the education loan. Talking about your earning potential over the 3 years post your graduation, we talk about starting at a $60,000 package, right? So over 3 years, you have more than $180,000 as your earning potential. Now, from this, if you were to remove your student loan, your interest on the student loan, your taxes, your living cost, you have approximately $50,000 or more as your savings at the end of 3 years, right? So this is like an estimate of what your return on investment will be. Talking about investment and what your returns will be. Your investment is your 1 year of study of the MS accounting program with the US universities. And monetarily speaking, your investment is the 2 lakhs that is out of pocket, which was already discussed, and around 35 lakhs loan, which is 43,000 US dollars. Your return is going to be 3 years of work in the US. Now we talk about 3 years because post your graduation, you are eligible to work for 3 years on your OPT. And again, when I say OPT, you're still on a student visa. This can extend if your H-1B gets picked and your sponsorship is done. Monetarily, your return is the 50 lakhs per year, which is more than 1.5 crores over 3 years, and this can be used to repay your student loan. These are our alumni from the fall 2023 cohort, and we also have some of our alumni in the following slides. I'll show you of our alumni who have been placed at various companies in the US. All of them have been placed across the US in different public accounting firms. Excuse me. So all of these are our alumni from our fall 22, fall 23 cohort. And we spoke about this. Our team is on ground there trying to get more connections, build up the corporate relationships as well. With this, I'm going to wrap up the session and also quickly talk about what happens after 3 years, right? This is also important. Number one is H-1B visa sponsorship. Visa sponsorship means that the entire H-1B process goes through a lottery, right? So it's not on merit, but it's through a lottery. And it's a 85,000 quota that you go into every single year. So over 3 years, each year you get this opportunity. Now, if your candidacy gets picked, then you will be able to continue on a H-1B over and above the 3 years. But if that was not to happen, then their option 2 and option 3 comes into play, which is you lead India teams of the same firm. Now, Chandu spoke about outsourcing. So many of the firms there in the US have a presence in one way or the other in India. So what we are trying to do is, in case the H-1B doesn't go through and you plan on coming back to India, you will be leading the India teams here for the same company, right? Because you have the client experience, you know the culture of the company because you've been in the US, you become the bridge between the US teams and the India team. Option 3 is you don't work for the same firm, but because Miles already has an India placements team, we will work with you in finding a job here in India. Okay, so this is what happens after 3 years. Now, all of this will include coming back to India will include that you come back with a savings of over $50,000. You have 3 years of work experience in the US. You also have completed your US CPA and you've completed your master's from a top US university, right? So all of this becomes like an advantage or a win for anyone who thinks of moving back to India as well. With this, I will wrap up the session and answer a few of the questions that I saw. Somebody had asked about getting a job directly in the US. Now, the reason this is not possible is again because of the visa laws that are existent in the US, right? So you need a H-1B in order to be working directly in the US. Now, a firm will not be willing to give you a job or sponsor your H-1B directly without seeing how you perform because it is an investment for the company, right? So if you find a company that is immediately willing to do your H-1B, then that is your option, but that is not very likely. Hence, you will have to pursue your master's, get in your F1 visa, and then move to a H-1B. Okay, so this is with regard to anyone who is thinking about why can I not get a job directly in the US. With regard to US CMA, jobs are available, but given that you're going to be working in a public accounting firm, the expectation of the firm is that you will pursue your CPA. So it's not that CMAs don't get a job, but the priority or the first preference goes to a CPA because you will be working in a public accounting firm. Even with, I also saw someone saying, I'm not interested in pursuing a CPA. If you're not interested in pursuing a CPA, to be honest, the bottleneck will be that you will be able to get to a certain level without a CPA, but you cannot reach a senior manager or a senior associate level without a CPA, right? Because ultimately, look at how we look at CAs here, right? Exactly the same way as how CPAs are looked in the US. So without a CPA, for them to push you higher up the ladder after a certain point becomes difficult. Okay, so this is the importance of getting your CPA in place or completing your CPA and stuff. So these were the few questions that I saw. And when you start off, you will all be starting off at like a $60,000 salary, like I mentioned. There could be differences due to location or anything else depending on each firm. But that's where you start off. And this is an overview as to how the entire Miles US pathway works. Any further questions, you can connect with the team, and they will be happy to help you and run you through the entire process. But I, again, want to thank everyone for attending the session this evening, and all the very best. Thank you.